Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Fondre from the art room, and today we're going to talk about making your own clay at home. Now normally if we use clay in the classroom, it comes from the ground, it's from the earth. But not everyone has clay in their yard, so we're going to make it yourself and make almost a dough that works and acts a lot like clay. So you need 4 ingredients, and you most likely have these at home already. If not, they maybe cost $1 or $2 at the Pig. I just ran across the street and got some myself. So you're gonna need flour, you're gonna need cornstarch, you're gonna need some salt, and you're gonna need water. All right, you're also gonna want something to mix these things together, like a metal spoon would work great, and you're gonna want a bowl. I am using a yogurt container because that's what I have in my classroom. All right, so and I should mention, you're gonna want a measuring cup. You need a 1/4 measuring cup for all of your ingredients because that's all you're gonna need. So with your bowl ready to go and your measuring cup, I want you to do 1/4 cup of the flour and the cornstarch and the salt. Okay, so you're gonna put all the dry ingredients into your bowl and mix it really well. You can use your spoon here if you wanna kind of mix it with your container, that works too, all right? You wanna do that so they're mixed together before you add the water, which does some more mixing together. Once your powders are all mixed well, you're gonna wanna dump in the water slowly, maybe a little bit at a time, because if you do all of it, it takes a little bit longer and it's more lumpy. Okay, so add a little bit of water, mix, add a little bit more, mix, and you're gonna get to the point where it's kind of sticky and the spoon isn't quite doing it enough for you. And that's when you can kind of go in with your hands and really knead it, okay? Use those fingers and push and push and pull and find those little dry areas to squish in with the wet areas. And what you're gonna get after all of that is this really fun squishy chunk of white dough that works like a clay. It's not as gooey maybe as a normal clay, but it really gets the job done. And the beauty of using this is that once you're done making your project, you can just set it on the counter or a safe spot and it will air dry. So you won't have to put it in your oven. You won't have to do anything special with it to make it stay hard. You just let it air dry and it's gonna keep that shape. Okay, it might take a day or two depending on how thick some of the areas are with your dough, but you can always test it by doing a little bitty pinch fairly gently so you don't accidentally break anything. All right, so it comes out perfectly white because of all of our ingredients are pretty white, but if you want to, you are more than welcome to use some food dye and dye this little lump of dough. Okay, very important though, if you are doing that, you're gonna wanna use a fork to start mixing the dye in, because otherwise, if you use your hands, they're gonna be covered in whatever color you picked. So I would kind of almost make a little bowl shape to start, drop 1, maybe 2 food coloring drops in there, and then use your fork to start to squish it together. After a while, when it's better mixed in, you can go back to your hands. But if you get too much of the dye on your fingers, you're gonna have blue fingers for a couple of days. So anyways, we're gonna be doing a cave art project with clay, and each grade level does something a little bit different. So I'm gonna stop the video here, and I'm actually gonna talk individually to each class or each grade about what their group is doing. So here's a little bit of a pause, and then I'll jump into the rest of it. All right, kindergarten and first grade, you have a very similar project today. You are going to be using this homemade clay to actually press your hand into the clay and leave a handprint, because with this cave art, one of the really common things that we find in cave art are handprints. It's kind of like how you would sign your name or to say, "This was me, I was here." So a lot of people in cave times would leave handprints or hand marks on the walls. So what you're going to do with this ball of clay, your home clay, is you're actually going to flatten it like a pancake. you can do this a few different ways. If you have a really nice flat smooth surface, you can start kind of pressing with your hands. If you have something that is shaped like a tube, like this container is pretty curved, you could use it as a rolling pin. Okay, I'm going to move the camera down a little bit. Hopefully this works. And you can roll it like that. The goal in the end is to have a flat enough area so your hand fits when you press into it, okay? If you are a grown-up doing this, you can see that's not going to be big enough for me. But for someone your age in kindergarten, first grade, that should be plenty. So I'm going to keep rolling it with this container because I think I like that the most right now. And it's okay if this is not perfectly flat, because a cave wall would not have been perfectly flat either. Okay, once you have that nice flat piece, I would say maybe about a 1/4 inch thick, nothing too thin. You don't want it to be too thin or it's more likely to break. But once you have your flat kind of pancake shape, you're going to press your hand right into it. Just for an example, I'm going to do my finger tips because those fit onto the clay very well. Okay, so I pushed my fingers in and I lifted them up and I have my fingers. You will have your whole hand for this, all right? Now, here's where it can be a little bit different for each grade. For kindergarten, what I was hoping to do was they were going to have their clay practice rolling, and when it was hard, then they would press their hand with red paint on top to leave their hand would be red. So, if you're in kindergarten and want to do something more like that, you could roll this piece flat, let it dry, and then have your handprint with the red on it. But my option I was showing you is one I'm trying to mostly do with the first grade, because once their hand is in there, we're gonna paint around the fingertips. So it looks like the white hand with the red around it, okay? There's a picture of this in the PowerPoint that I'm sharing with you as well, so you can get a kind of a better idea too, all right? So when you're done, I'm hoping this year to get all of my virtual work. Either send me a picture through email. My email at school is Fandre, F-A-N-D-R-E, and then the letter M at waterloo.k12.wi.us. Okay, I'm hoping most people are able to email them to me. Otherwise, if you are in Seesaw or if you are in the Google Classroom, whatever your teacher picked, you can always put things in there as well. I am a little hesitant of you bringing artwork to me because I want to make sure you have it and you get it back. So if I could just see images, pictures, that would be best. But if you really feel the need to drop it off, you can. I can put it in my grade book and I'll let you know when I'm done looking at it. Okay? It takes a little bit longer that way too. So if you just send me a picture, that'd be perfect. I hope you enjoy playing with your homemade dough and have fun exploring and learning a little bit more about cave art.